Let me start off by saying thank you to the organizers, to the folks at PDC, all you representatives that are here, the honorable doctors that have come alongside, and thank you to Dr. Bernard Lee, my good friend, and also to Frank Jaffer. I would advise you guys, one of the things that we use as a saying in the United States is that experience is the best teacher. I tend to disagree with the statement and say actually someone else's experience is the best teacher. You don't have to learn the hard way, and so I would advise you to take advantage of these resources that have been offered to you. Bernard is well respected all around in the world, really, but a lot of people in the Asia Pacific region access his knowledge of how to build and design fiber systems and what happens after you get going, how to put out fires that you couldn't possibly have seen before they happen. And I would advise you to take advantage of those resources as you move along. So I think we've got a presentation that might work. So my company is an OSS/BSS company. And what you're going to find is that the telecommunications group of people are the worst at abbreviations and acronyms, and we have all kinds of letters, and we make new ones up every year, I think, Bernard, don't we? So, so the OSS/BSS actually stands for Business Support Systems and Operational Support Systems, if that helps any of you to understand a little bit about what my company does. And this portion of the network, of a fiber network or a telecommunications network, is basically the core device or software that translates orders into actual actions or provisioning commands, what we call it. So we stand between the place where the bill happens and where the service actually gets delivered. So as you can imagine, it's not magic that you get online and order a certain video package, a certain data package, and a certain voice package, and then that comes all the way to your house. Someone has to actually start at the head end or at the operations center and make that service happen down to the bottom. So that's basically what operational support systems are. Now, why we believe it's a very important part of what you're going to do here is that manual provisioning is much more expensive and much more time consuming than automated provisioning. So my company's function, and the function of any OSS/BSS company, is to make these steps that are outlined here automated. So if we go, if we start, here it is. If we start up here with which steps are more expensive, like from the time that you take an order, that someone calls in and takes an order, it takes staff to handle that. It takes someone to take the order, then someone to go and do the step of actually entering that into the network in order to get that service online. And then it takes people on the far end of the system to deliver set-top boxes or home gateways or whatever to the actual customer. So there's a lot of steps in just turning on a service. So the OSS systems basically handle all these functions and try to automate them, make them easier and less steps and less people to get involved. So currently there are a myriad of fiber systems around the world. Almost every telephone company around the world is thinking about or has already or is planning to introduce fiber into their networks. So they've got the handicap that you don't have. They have a legacy system of copper out there, DSL systems out there, and they're trying to then switch over to the system that you're going to use, which is a far superior system. The optic fiber networks that are coming online now, we have probably 40 of our customers of all different sizes, very similar to the system that you're about to build. And the simplicity of a new fiber system without the copper is a huge benefit. You're making a great decision to do this here in Penang and on this part of Malaysia. So I would advise you to keep moving ahead. This is a great direction that you're going. Here is a little bit of a diagram, and this is sort of a, as they say, a 40,000-foot view of what will happen in the provisioning of your system. So manual provisioning, the way it's done normally in fiber systems without an OSS system is an order gets taken right here. So this is a customer service rep. I'll go ahead and explain all these network portions to you as we go, because again, we've got too many acronyms and abbreviations. But an order gets taken here from the household. This is the household over here. So an order comes over in the phone or a request via email, and then that order gets entered into the BSS system. The BSS system then provisions that work order down to here, down to a technician who then enters into either voice, which is G6, data, which is this 7450. It's an example of a piece of equipment, or an EMS, which does the fiber provisioning itself. So basically, the manual provisioning takes these steps that you can see here with the dotted lines. These all are more employees and more steps to make the same thing happen. Automated provisioning looks like this. The CSR types in one order, and the service gets delivered right away. The field tech can change this or change anything as he needs to as it goes along. So basically, the function of a good OSS system is to eliminate all these other steps that we looked at. Now, probably about 1/3 of the fiber systems deployed around the world have what we would call a streamlined or an automated OSS BSS. We are all very familiar with, and we both, you and I, live in countries where that is not happening. Most of the services are back the other way. They're like this. It takes 7 or 8 steps and 5 or 6 employees to make the same thing that can happen in one employee and one step with the right equipment. Now, you might say to yourself, what is the dollar value that goes on to this OSS BSS function? It seems like a very important part of the wheel, Tim. Someone should say that to me. Bernard, you can say that. Seems important. So basically, the good news is that the cost of laying the fiber, as we just heard, is predominantly the highest cost. In most systems, this OSS BSS is about 1% of the cost of the network. Now, whether it works good or not is the difference on whether the center of your wheel has spokes on it or there's no center of your wheel. Everything happens in relation to this. All the billing, revenue collection, all the managing of these services at the end, all of it runs through this one system. So you can understand why that we believe this is a very important, vital piece of the network architecture that must be in place in order for the system to function successfully. It can be the single most important choice that network builders make, and I would advise you guys at PDC, if I'm allowed to say so, you've got a lot of good resources to knock on the doors of, and like I said, we can learn from the mistakes of others so that we don't have to make the same mistakes. Again, the voice of experience is really powerful. So in order to future-proof your network, if you have an OSS BSS system that can take on new challenges. For instance, one particular challenge that's happening right now in the fiber networks around the world is instead of only having this cable running into one place in the house and delivering the service to one device, either a computer or a television, as you can imagine, everybody in this room that's under 30, which I'm not, but I'm watching this happen, has multiple devices. You know, who 5 years ago would have thought, or 10 years ago, would have thought that an iPad would have the impact that it's having on our world? So part of the handicaps is the younger people are now wanting this to be delivered on multiple devices. They want it on their iPhone, they want it on their iPad, not just on the home TV or on the laptop. They want to be able to, while they're out at a coffee shop, if they've got a subscription to a service, they would like to be able to watch that there. You know, watch it away from home. So a lot of OSS companies have no way to make these changes, or they're relying on a legacy billing system to provide this function that has no flexibility for these types of things. So as you go through it, I think it's going to benefit you to make a great selection on your, to make a great selection on your OSS vendor. A couple of our evaluation criteria that we advise people to go on is experience, comprehensiveness of the solution, and the solution's flexibility for VLAN and IP addresses. A little bit of this presentation will be a little bit over our heads technically, but basically the science of it is IP address assignment is a vitally important function. And if you're stuck in only one mode of doing that, a static IP, then you're going to have troubles. Here are some other solution scopes that we look for when we're advising people about an OSS system. There are different varied ways of delivering video, varied ways of delivering data, and varied ways of delivering voice. And you want to have a system that can accommodate all of these. An ROI, or a return on investment, is a very important portion of this system. Like I believe Bernard said, and a few others have said, the profitability of a fiber system is not always apparent right at the beginning. You start out putting a lot of seed in the ground, and it takes a couple of years to get a harvest back in from that. But the more flexibility we have, the faster our return on investment is going to be. Another interesting problem that is happening in the APAC world is we're having a lot more MDUs. So here we go again with the abbreviations. This is a single family unit or a multi-family unit. The devices that go on the side of the buildings, depending on whether it's a business, an apartment building, or a single family dwelling, are different devices, and those have to be managed in a different way. So again, flexibility is key. If you have a piece of equipment on the side of an apartment building that is managing say 400 ONT ports, so the device that's actually provisioned is an ONT port. You're going to see some out here in the examples. If that device shuts down, then someone has to reorganize all 400 of those units, reprovision the bandwidth, reprovision the voice services, reprovision the video packages on all those ports. You can imagine what a mess of spaghetti and a nightmare that would be to reprovision if for instance, a building gets hit by lightning. And this happens regularly, as you know. A lot of these taller buildings are susceptible to this. It'll hurt the electronic equipment, but nothing else in the building a lot of times. So these are the type of things that a network builder has to think about in the future. What am I going to do to get back online when something goes down? So again, the flexibility of the application, the VLAN and IP addresses is very important. I won't go through some of this. It's a little bit more than what we want. So, but my summary on the part of the system that my company provides is that we advise people to look at the experience that their OSS BSS vendor has, to look at the comprehensiveness of the solution again, and then to see the flexibility of the VLAN and IP address assignments. So the more you know about the network configuration, the better it is. It's going to be to work out that specific evaluation. And again, even when you're starting out on a ground level like you are and designing the system beforehand, don't assume that the network configuration won't change. It's one of the handicaps that a lot of the companies in the U.S. in particular, unfortunately my country, one of its best things is we learn not to do from it. But it's really true. As you know, the U.S. is advanced in some areas, but they also have a huge market that causes them to get locked into a bad system a lot of times. They'll roll out a big network and then get stuck in the slowness of that system when other technologies are blowing right past them that are much faster. And you're on the cutting edge of that here in Penang. And then look for the flexibility of the solution. Are your OSS vendors able to make changes as that technology comes online? I think that's basically all I have for you today. I just wanted to thank you guys again and say we really appreciate the time to come here and talk to you about this. Again, my advice to you, if I'm able to do that, is to listen and learn from others who have crashed into the brick wall before you rather than doing it yourself. Thank you very much.